How's it going, guys? Episode 18, Equity Podcast. I'm your host, Berek, with Joe in the house. Today, we're going to talk about how to stay healthy and injury-free.
Yep.
Our goal is to be healthy, fit, improve our quality of life, be able to do whatever life throws at us. If we're hurt, we can't do those things. So let's figure out how to not do those things and not get hurt.
Well said. All right, so our first big point we're going to come up on for staying healthy and injury-free is recovery in that whole subcategory.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of different things under this.
Yeah.
But the main one is sleeping. To be perfectly honest, most of the people in the gym, I would say our average age is probably in the mid-30s. Yeah. And I think as time's going on, we're getting a little bit higher in that. People in their mid-30s and their 40s have kids and they have a bunch of stuff going on, and getting sleep can be tough, but it's super important. If we're not getting enough sleep, our bodies cannot recover. Yeah. Another thing that happens as we age, it's actually harder to sleep. I know my dad is in his mid-50s, late 50s, mid to late. He'd probably yell at me and say mid. And
really, damn it.
He really has a hard time sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, he can fall asleep anywhere, but like as soon as he hits the bed, it's like he can't get there. So I think if we haven't done a whole episode on sleep, we will in the future. Yeah. Because that's something that we need to. But there's a lot of different tactics that we can use. We need to get sleep. Not everybody has to get 8, but in that 7 to 8 range is ideal.
That's a good marker, yeah.
Right? Babies sleep like 12 hours a day. And think about the amount of change that happens, both physically and mentally. And one of the reasons they're able to handle that is because they're sleeping so much. They need to recover.
Yeah.
The other side is obviously nutrition and water. If you're not getting enough water, if you're not putting good stuff in, you're not going to get good stuff out, right? Yep. High salt, high sugar, high processed foods, you're just going to feel sluggish, right? And then kind of like on the other end of things, taking rest days, right? Your body needs time to do stuff. Take days off from the gym.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then last one is stretching, doing prehab workouts, like on those rest days, doing prehab type stuff. Think, hey, if I were going to PT, what kind of stuff would they have me do? That type of stuff. And we do prehab stuff, during our warm-ups and after class, and using those things to help. And if you have a little troubled area, spending some time on that troubled area outside of class can definitely help stay healthy and injury-free.
Yeah.
And, taking those rest days, we'll get a little bit more into that later, but you need rest days. Take them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one of the big things, just like in the little aside for the sleep thing, and this is someone who has, I'm really bad at this, but avoiding screens around bedtime is crucial, because they can really screw that whole process up. The blue light isn't great.
Blue light is like the go-to thing. Yeah. Like blue light makes it that it's daytime, right? You have the reds, the oranges. It's like, hey, it's dusk. It's time to start. And your body will start being like, oh, okay, it's time to sleep. Yeah. When you turn blue light into middle of that, it's just like, oh, I'm supposed to be up. But on the flip side of that, generally, what are you doing when you're on a screen? You're engaged with something, and you're not relaxing. You might think you're relaxing, but you're not.
You're switched on relaxing all the time.
Yeah. You're scrolling, or you're talking about something, or you're reading something, or watching something. You're not actually bringing yourself down.
You're active.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Our next big main point on this is variable and relative intensity.
Yeah. I'm not saying everybody has this, but we get a lot of people that come in when they start and they think of CrossFit and intensity.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it's throwing up. It's Pukey the Clown, and it's doing Murph and all this crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Going Fran and tearing your hands. Like, no, that's not CrossFit at all.
Yeah.
Like, I tear my hands once in a blue moon. It doesn't happen a lot. If I tear my hands, I'm angry. I'm not proud of it. I'm angry, right? I've literally never thrown up in a workout before. Never.
Yeah.
intensity is relative. It's relative to the person. It's relative to the stimulus of the workout, right? So, and we don't want the same intensity all the time during the week. Like the whole goal with CrossFit is to be ready for life.
Yeah.
So what we want to be able to do is, yes, we want to be able to go really hard, really fast. We also want to be able to do that slow intensity, that long and slow stuff. We want to change our variability, we want to change our intensity, right? We want some variability in that.
Yeah.
So it's relative intensity, not max intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes do we want to get to that max intensity? Yes, but that's not all the time. Another way to think about this is practice versus training versus competing. And I've written a blog post on this as well. And we practice every single day, and you should be practicing every single day. It's when we're warming up, when we're going over the specific warm up for a snatch or for whatever. And you want to practice that movement. It's not a throwaway. You actually want to practice improving your technique and moving through range of motion, working on getting better. And in training, that's something that we do during a workout, right? It's at like that 65 or higher percent load.
Yeah.
It's with a moderate intensity. It's, hey, I'm going to do running and toes to bar. But I'm training today, and my goal today is to really build on sets of toes to bar. So if I was competing, I'd be doing, sets of 3 and jumping right back up and, making sure my transition time is really good and pushing the runs. But for this, I just want to really focus on building my capacity in the toes to bar. So I'm going to work on these bigger sets. I'm going to force myself to do sets of 6.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm training. I'm training the ability to do more toes to bar. Or maybe my goal is to really work my runs. So I'm not really going to worry about the toes to bar. I'm just going to really push that run a little bit more than I want to get better at running. And then, I'll just get through the toes to bar as I need to. So, we're training a specific goal. And then finally you have competing. And competing is something that you should do max once a week.
Yeah.
And again, we're trying to see what we're capable of. We're trying to a little bit higher intensity. We're trying to just figure out what am I capable of, like I said earlier. And like I said, that's maybe once a week. The rest of the time, we're practicing, we're training.
Yeah. But kind of like a side to that is if you are looking to compete, you need to train competing.
Yeah.
Like you need to practice setting that high intensity and knowing what that feels like. Because if you don't really do that and then you do your first competition, you're going to
So
rude awakening.
If I'm doing, if I treat every workout like I'm competing, the goal of competing is to finish a workout as fast as possible.
Yeah.
If I've never done toes to bar before, but I can like physically do one.
Yeah.
If I'm going as fast as I can, I'm just going to do singles,
Yeah.
right? Or I'm going to swing around, and that's like on that day, that is the fastest I can do that is by doing singles.
Yeah.
But in the long term, if I go a little bit slower on that workout and focus on doubles, in the long term, I'm going to get better at toes to bar, and in the long term, I'll be able to get faster at that workout.
Yeah.
So having a longer term view, and again, we'll get into that as well, it's definitely going to help by training, we're able to compete.
Yeah.
I think one of the examples that I gave was, and think of any sport. If I'm playing football, I don't train football by just playing a game every day leading up to game day, right? What do? They practice catching, they practice cutting, right? They practice blocking, right? They do all their specific things. They do specific practice and training. They practice all those things. Then, they might have some scrimmages scenarios, and then they compete on game day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's about developing potential. Potential can be anywhere, but if you don't work on it and nurture it, it's not going to amount to anything.
Right.
All right, our third point is know your goals. Parentheses, don't keep up with the Joneses.
What happens a lot of times is people come in. I have 2 kids. I just want to be healthy and fit. I want to be able to take them for walks. I want to be able to pick them up. I want to be able to, do whatever I need to them. I want to be able to take stuff into the attic. I want to be able to do all that stuff. And then they get in here, and then, they start seeing some results. And then they're like, man, doing a bar muscle would be really cool. Hey, doing this would be really cool. Hey, doing that really cool. Oh man, that person does like 2 workouts a day. Oh, the games athletes, they're working out like 4 hours a day. Well, that's good, but remember what your goals are, right? Our goals are whatever they are. Now, if part of your goal is to compete, then yeah, we need to do some things around that. But if your goal is just to be healthy and fit and be there for your kids and be able to live life to your fullest, like, you don't have to do what everybody else is doing on that competing side. Just come in, hit the workout hard, focus when you're here, have fun, and you're going to get there. Health and fitness versus like finding my true potential. I kind of call this like I would put me under this. Like, I want to find out like what my potential is. I like competing at local competitions. So like, I work out once a day, but on Sundays I'll go a little bit more. Like I'll do some extra work to work on the things that I'm not good at. And I just like competing locally, and that's what I find. And then you have the competitors that are just, that's what they're about. Like, they're training for the sport, not training for health and wellness and for life. And that's perfectly fine. All of those are completely legitimate. You just need to know what your goal is. And then when you start being like, all right, I want to start working on X or Y, ask yourself, why do I want to work on X and Y? What's the point? Why am I doing it? Because if you don't want to be doing it for the wrong reason. It's like, I actually want that because I just think it's cool. Well, that's not great. So now, that being said, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to reach for more, even if that's super helpful.
There's construction going behind us if you can't hear.
There's like, that doesn't mean you shouldn't reach for more. Like, if you're here just for health and fitness, that's good, but that doesn't mean like you can't reach 4 bar muscle ups. But it's something to be like, you don't need to like hammer it and do all this extra stuff. Like, we're gonna get, this leads us into the next thing. Trust the process, right? It takes time to do these things. Results take time, and you need to trust the process that you're going to get there. When people start getting antsy, when people start trying to keep up with the Joneses, when they don't trust the process, that's when injuries start happening. You start taking on too much, and then, that shoulder goes.
Yeah.
And that's something that we don't want to happen. Just trust the processes, get there in time. Now, if you just really want to get this thing, talk to a coach, get some personal training, get some one-on-one help, and they can kind of help build that process and build it into a plan.
Yeah.
We do a lot of the hybrid memberships where, people are doing class, and then I give them specific goals just for them, specific accessory work just for their goals. And the idea is that it melds into the group class, and now they have a specific goal for the group class, and it lets them get to their goal.
Yeah, I even noticed when I was here over Murph, people were going over like, what did Berek give you this week for Murph, like very specific for each athlete.
Yeah, and it, because everybody's going to be a little bit different, so it just gives them a little bit more personalized touch, and they can reach their goals a little bit faster. Yeah. And that's not to say like if you're a group class, that's fine. It just might take a little bit longer, and for most people that's going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of like our final capping off thing, if something feels wrong, take a look at it, adjust it, and work around it.
Yeah, I get actually.
Work around's not the best word.
I just did a workout with Carly Fisher, and I can't remember what the workout was. And after workout, we were like, "Hey, good job" or whatever, and Carly was like, "Man, that was," she gave me a very nice compliment, and she was like, "How do you go hard like that all the time and not get hurt?" I'm like, "Well, I adjust my intensity." And also, I've been doing this for a long time, so I know what I can do fast and what I can't. And what happens is your body's gonna. I hate the line "listen to your body," but that's kind of what I want to say. But it's so cliched. Like if my shoulder starts bothering me, I'm gonna ease up on my shoulder, right?
Yeah.
If my knee hurts, I'm gonna ease up on my knee. Like you can't be like, it's just something fine. It'll be fine. Like if you start feeling something somewhere, you need to pull it back.
And yeah, absolutely. And the benefit of something like CrossFit, most people tend to develop a pretty acute level of self-awareness. If something feels off, it's not like nothing. You should pay attention to that and look into it. Like, it's not, your knee's not just feeling a little bit funny. There's probably something going on there.
Right. And then also, like, think about what the underlying issue is.
Yeah.
If my shoulder just keeps bugging me, well, maybe I have a mobility issue and I need to focus on that. Mm-hmm. Or my knee just keeps bothering me whenever I do X.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure out what the issue is, right? My ankle always bothers me when we run. Well, now you can start looking in the patterns as well. Like, so the first part is, like, if it hurts, adjust, right? If it feels weird, adjust. And then the second thing is, well, let's self-analyze and be like, all right, what's the underlying cause? Why does my back hurt? All right, well, this, and this. So we're going to spend some time working on that and making it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, like, depending on how you feel, depending on how the workout feels, we need to adjust with how our body feels. And also, this kind of goes back to variable intensity is, if you're just feeling not 100% today, the workouts aren't always for time.
Yeah.
Right? We've been programming lately 1 workout a week. It's for time or not. Technically, every workout is for time or not, right? If you just don't have it that day, pull it back a little bit, and that's fine. Yeah. You're in here, you're getting a little bit better, and that's all that matters. So don't be afraid to pull back. And then if injury actually does happen, there's 2 things. One, if you're hurt and you have a kid, you still have to raise that kid.
Yeah.
You still have to pick them up. You still have to use the bathroom. You still have to do this. You still have to do everything your life throws at you. So you should still be working out. We can adjust those things. That's why the coaches are there, right? We had Kelly, she had shoulder surgery, and she was doing a lot of one-arm work, right? When you have an injury, you're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff, and that's fine. Like, we like doing different stuff here, but sometimes you have to kind of dive in and just focus on one area. And then once that happens, like, okay, let's start working on a lot of prehab for that specific area, right? Start working on getting it better.
Yeah.
Why did I have that injury, and how can we fix it long term?
Yeah.
When Kelly came back from that shoulder injury, she's like, I don't think I'll ever overhead squat again.
Yeah.
She's PR'd her overhead squat. She PR'd her snatch, right? So we don't want to get injured, but we can learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can learn from it.
Yeah, I think I've talked about this on the podcast previously. This is dumb kid story time with Joe. A couple years ago, I tried Bergener, that program, the weightlifting program. And maybe like this goes in why you should trust a process and adjusting if something doesn't feel right. This is exactly what not to do. Maybe like 2 or 3 weeks into the program, which is it's a pretty high volume weightlifting program with a lot of repetitive movement in it, because weightlifting is kind of, I don't say limited in movement types, but like it's pretty specific in what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you're snatching or clean jerking. So like you're going to do movements that help those things.
Which all pretty much look the same. Yeah,
it's very similar
condensed.
Stuff.
Yeah. I got golfer's elbow on my left elbow about like 3 weeks in. Being me, said, fuck it. 2 weeks later, I had golfer's elbow on my right elbow. Couldn't do any like upper body exercises for like a month and a half almost without like pretty severe pain, because I wanted to keep moving through the program. I was like, I got to get this. I got to keep advancing through this. If I take time off, it's going to hurt me. And then I just was like not paying attention to my body.
It's keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
Like, I got to keep going, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is like 2 things. One is trying to jump right into that program, right? Where versus it should have been like a more of a gradual thing, like building up to it. Like, that's probably a program that somebody who's just training weightlifting could be doing like peak.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, they've been doing this for years, and that's a really good full program for them versus like, you coming from the CrossFit side where we do some volume, but not like that type of volume.
Yeah.
So easing into that process first, and then also, like you mentioned, noticing when there's an issue.
Yeah.
And then pulling back to fix it.
Yeah. And I kind of, similarly, I thought when, like we were talking about, like, you don't need to train like a games athlete, like 4 hours a day. Like, there's nothing, depending where you're at in life, there's nothing wrong with wanting to train that way, but you do need to recognize, like you're talking about building up, they've spent years training to train that way. Like, they're training up to a certain amount of volume and developing that. So it's not like, we're not trying to say you can't get where you want to get. I mean, there are some limitations, obviously, with certain people, but like, it's time and paying attention to yourself and making sure you're doing the right things, and having a good coach or a team of coaches around you is really, really beneficial. Yeah.
Like if you've been doing 3 days a week and then, next month you're like, all right,
5 day, 2 a days, let's go. Not a good idea.
I want to be a games athlete. It's not going to go well.
No.
It's not going to go well. You gotta ease into it.
Yeah.
Definitely gotta ease into it. Just like a professional athlete, they've been building up to that point, literally their entire life.
Yeah,
their entire life.
Especially, it's like that's with most sports, but like now with CrossFit, they're kind of like most of the games athletes have been doing it since they were 12.
Yeah,
like it's not a quick thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
I think it was a good show.
Yeah, a little bit of a more condensed one from us.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions for us, any comments, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, most of the places you find podcasts. You can get in touch with me or Berek. Our Instagrams are reachable as well. I think that's it for us.
Yeah, if you like this format, let us know. If you have some ideas that you want us to hear, let us know.
If you like this shirt, let me know.
Making me look like a chump today. Well, that's not hard. I mean, I have this face, so not great.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys.
Alrighty. All right, thanks for watching.
Is that it? Cheers. Oh, yeah.